Thank you, everyone. Welcome. It's Monday, April 8th, 2024. It's time for our regularly scheduled city council meeting. Ask the clerk to certify the meeting notice as soon as she's ready.
This meeting has been noticed in accordance with Idaho Code 74-204.
Thank you. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Jacobs?
Here.
Councilmember Jorgensen?
Here.
Councilmember Page?
Here.
Councilmember Rasmussen?
Here.
Thank you. Item C is Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item D is changes to the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would request that SUB FY 2024-001 be removed from the consent agenda for a brief discussion.
-004, you mean?
Sorry,
Okay,
the shindig.
okay.
Okay.
Any other changes to the agenda? We'll move that down to make that G2.
Mr. Mayor, are we talking about the L Estates?
Yes.
Okay, and just as a note, that one is to be continued. So we can remove it, but the action item for the consent agenda was to continue it to a date to be determined. Is that?
You still want to move it off?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about.
Okay, all
Okay.
right, okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other changes to the agenda? I need a motion to change the agenda.
No, Mr. Mayor, I want to, is Jenna, I want to make sure we're talking about the same application. Is Wandering Trails is now Shindig, correct?
Oh, okay.
No, Shindig is SUB FY 2022-0004.
So Jen is going to come up.
Never mind.
Mayor, members, Councilmember Jorgensen, Shindig is SUB fiscal year 2024 #1, and that is scheduled for a public hearing tonight.
Mr. Mayor, never mind.
Okay. Okay,
I got them all across.
Yeah.
Move to approve the consent agenda as written.
thank you. Got a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Move down to special no special business, item G1. This is a public hearing on SUB FY 2024-0001 Shindig subdivision. Who's speaking on behalf of the, okay. Before you introduce yourself, this is a public hearing item. You can present your request to the city subdivision. After you're finished, Ms. Thornborough will come up and do the staff report. Then I'll open the public hearing. We'll take any testimony from the public. You'll have the final word after the public testimony to close out, have an opportunity to close out. Then I'll close the public hearing and the council will deliberate and make a decision. Okay, so thank you. Welcome. Council, anybody have to declare a conflict on this?
Nope.
Okay. Welcome. If you would give us your name and address for the record.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Jason Densmer. I'm a principal with the Land Group. Our office is at 462 East Shore Drive in Eagle. I'm very pleased to be here with you tonight. I have a short presentation about the Shindig subdivision. If I can figure out how to do your Zoom sharing, I will do that. Great. Thank you for your time tonight. The Shindig subdivision is proposing a land division with both a combined preliminary and final plat and a planned unit development. The project is located at 8875 West State Street. It's on the south side of State, just west of Bogart Lane. You may you use State Street as often as almost all of us do, I'm sure you've seen the project that's under construction there. It's been under construction for the past several months and is about 85% complete today. The project was originally proposed through the city and approved by design review under file number 2024-001. Actually, that file number doesn't sound right. It was approved for construction in 2022. It consists of 95 homes, 44 duplex buildings, and 7 single-family or freestanding townhouse buildings. It was approved as a for-rent apartment project and met all of the city's conditions under the design review approval. It sits on a single parcel today. Just to familiarize yourself with it, here's a couple of construction progress photos over the last couple of weeks. So you can see the buildings are largely under construction on the southwest side of the site, and the contractor has been moving towards the northeast towards State Street. All of the roads, water and sewer infrastructure, storm drainage, et cetera, are in place. Here's an example of the architecture of the buildings. These are, on the left is a single unit, and then in the middle of the image is a duplex unit where 2 attached units share a common wall. There's a number of amenities within the neighborhood that were approved through design review. In the photo on the left, you can see the playground area, for example. There are landscape areas and other amenities that will serve the homeowners. Inside the units are, modern, really good looking construction. The purpose of our application tonight is to propose subdividing the property so that instead of being a for-rent apartment project, it would provide ownership opportunities to the residents to purchase units. Because the project was so far along in terms of construction, we were able to propose both a combined preliminary and final plat. So that's the application tonight, is a land division that combines both the preliminary plat and meets all of the city standards and conditions for that application, together with a final plat that also meets all of its respective conditions. The major goal of the preliminary plat is to expand housing varieties and opportunities by providing purchased or owner occupied units within what otherwise might have been a for-rent project. Other than the ownership overlay, the land division and PUD applications don't propose any changes to what's already under construction. So the project as it was presented to design review and approved would look identical, except we'd be superimposing new lot lines on top. Here's a copy of the final plat showing the arrangement of lots and blocks. All of the lots would be accessed from a single common drive that's a common lot. That common lot also encompasses the landscape areas of the project and would be, obviously, like most subdivisions, that common lot would be owned by the homeowners association, managed, maintained by them. The application also includes a companion application for a planned unit development. The purpose of the planned unit development is to resolve minor misalignments between the project as it was approved by design review and the city's normal subdivision ordinance. So for example, this slide is talking about the purpose of the planned unit development ordinance, and the project complies with all the city standards under which you have to be able to make a finding that it is eligible for a planned unit development. The purpose of our planned unit development application is to address the need for 0-foot side setbacks, because we do have attached product in the townhome buildings. Those would not normally be approved without a planned unit development. The second purpose of the planned unit development is to specifically approve access to more than 4 lots via a common drive. Thirdly, the PUD proposes approval to not have front yard trees at all of the lots. We would request that that be waived because it's not consistent with the approved landscape plan that's being implemented under the design review approval. And then lastly, between when the project was approved in 2022 and today, the city has adopted a new parking ordinance. And we believe that the parking that's provided complies both with the old standard and the new. But to the extent that anybody questions the math, we just wanted to make sure the PUD specifically approved the parking quantity that's being constructed. That's a summary of the application. I'm happy to stand for any questions and then look forward to staff's presentation.
Any questions for Mr. Desmer? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council again. Mr. Dinsmore did a great job on running through the pertinent issues for the record tonight. To reiterate a little bit of what he said, this is a subdivision to subdivide the underlining property of an existing project. There are 96 units located at 8875 State Street. And as he had noted, this application came through as a plan unit development and subdivision request. And the plan unit development does allow for certain waivers to be granted. And he had noted that code looks at multifamily just slightly differently than it looks at a subdivision. And so there is a need for a setback waiver request. In general, that's just a 1 foot. So there would be a 4 foot setback instead of 5 foot setback in many areas. But moreover, there would be a 0 side wall setback between the units where these are townhomes. And then there are just some standard items that we see on almost all PUDs, if not all PUDs. And that's servicing more than 4 dwelling units on a common drive. And then noted, because this came through as a plan unit as a multifamily, the requirement for a tree per lot wasn't there previously. And so the way that this project was proposed didn't require that in the spacing. And so they are asking for a waiver for that. And then parking dimensions. And then the way that Ms. Veal did review this application per parking code, did note that potentially there's a lack of 2 guest spaces for a total of 203 parking spaces. But it is also noted that there are parking pads for the units as well that she didn't count. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this on consent agenda during their March 20th hearing. And the design review consultants did not feel that there was a need for a formal meeting on this due to its nature of already being under construction. The majority of the agency comments would be the city engineer, but they are very standard comments discussing the need that each of the units have water and sewer connections, asking how the CCNRs would work and noting need for easements. And with that, I stand for any questions that you may have.
Questions of staff? I don't
Thank
see
you.
any. Thank you. This time I'll open the public hearing on SUB FY 2024-1. I don't see anyone signed up here in the council chambers. Do we have anybody joining us online that wishes to testify regarding this application? Okay, yes, I see the hand, but I can't read the name. I'm sorry. Oh, Hannah. Ms. Ball.
Hello,
go
Ms.
ahead. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We got a
Hannah Ball, 215 East 34th Street, Garden City, Idaho. And I have seen this project. It's very clean and I like that it's under construction currently. My only comments to council were, or to Jenna rather, is code speaks to the fact that the applicants can ask for a deviation or a waiver to such standards when they apply the PUD application. Our code doesn't say anything about what all waivers they can request, and I'm hoping that that's something that city council discusses in future, just in generality, what's the parameters as to what waivers they can request when a PUD is applied. But I think this is a wonderful project and looks good in action. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else wish to testify? Okay, seeing none. Final comments? Mr. Desmer, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep it short.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add, but we appreciate your support and staff's work in processing our application.
Thank you very much. That'll close the public hearing, and council. It's a pleasure of the council.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve SUB FY 2024-0001 with findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision, all waivers in place as discussed in the staff report.
Thank you. Got a motion? Do I have a second?
I would.
We got a motion in a second. Did you get that, Lisa? Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, clerk call roll.
Councilmember Jacobs?
Yes.
Councilmember Jorgensen?
Yes.
Councilmember Page?
Yes.
Councilmember Rasmussen?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, item F, or G2, resolution 1172-24, amending Garden City's record retention schedule. It's on page 128. Council, do you have any questions for staff? Do we need a staff report on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I do have some questions.
Okay. Fire away.
Um, as I was reading through the retention policy and the definitions of the designations, my question, as I was reading through some of the table, was the descriptive of significant and strategic. Is there other areas where those adjectives are described for clarification and definition to apply?
I'm waiting on Mr. Wadums to get free from his.
Was that for me?
Well,
Yeah.
Lisa drafted.
Oh, okay.
I was just getting.
Okay, all right, Lisa, go ahead.
I didn't do it this time.
As a background, we pulled this information from the city of Meridian and really used their template to build. So to answer your question, I don't believe that is necessarily a definition of those words. We could certainly work to draft something that would maybe help clarify in those instances when those words are used.
So what were the words again?
Significant policy and strategic. And my only concern there is that it's those phrases and adjectives tend to be used when it's permanent, when the descriptor or the designation is permanent. And if we're going to retain something on a permanent basis, I do think it should be pretty clear as to what that is. I'm not a big fan of retaining documents anyway. And so if there's not a clarity on why or what they are, my vote is to get rid of it as soon as possible.
And a lot of our guidance is by state code.
Yeah.
And that's
That
really,
does not surprise me.
right, right. Yeah, we don't have a lot of latitude. We obviously have to keep things within state code. We can keep things longer if we define them, but most of this does follow state code, but I'm gonna look up. We could certainly go through, and I think a lot of the first one that I came on was correspondence. And where the word significant is used. So we could certainly do some massaging of those significant and strategic words and maybe better define them. And we could bring this back. There's just no urgency
Okay.
on this. We've been working on it for a couple of years now, so another couple of weeks. It won't matter.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, if I could just add to that. So the legal advice on this record retention schedule was really only a couple things. Make sure it's consistent with our previous record retention schedule, which we've had it on the books for 20, 30 years. And also make sure that all the other departments are okay with it. I think all the other departments it was sent out to the other departments for comment. So I'm assuming that all the other departments are okay with this. I know the police department hopefully has looked at it. So that was my legal advice. Make sure it's consistent or, not inconsistent with the previous versions and make sure the other departments were okay with it. And it needs to be consistent with the Idaho code as well.
Right, right. And so it's been under, I've had meetings with different departments and they've reviewed it. It did go through legal intern review, especially matching state code and making sure terminology was correct. But again, we want to get it right. And so bringing up a good point that maybe we either look at where those words are used and come up with something else or come up with a definition that helps guide that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
okay. Any other questions? Would you like to make a motion, Councilmember Jorgensen, to table this for 2 weeks?
I so move.
Okay. Got a motion to table resolution 1172-24 to our next council meeting, which is March, whatever.
April
April.
22nd. 22nd.
I've been told I'm behind the times, but I guess it's coming. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Did we get a second?
I did.
Okay. thank
Yes,
you.
Bill did. Okay, any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Yep.
Okay, council, next item on our agenda is we need to move into executive session. And I'm anticipating that we'll be requesting a decision when we come out. So I entertain a motion to move into executive session as noted on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
in accordance with Idaho Code 74-201 sub 1 sub F, to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated but eminently likely to be litigated, after which the regular city council meeting will reconvene for potential action.
Second.
got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, the clerk call roll.
Councilmember Jorgensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Page,
Yes.
Councilmember Rasmussen,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacobs.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move into executive session. For those of you joining us online, what do you do? Just,
We'll put the meeting on hold and
Okay.
then we'll come back. for the
okay,
Zoom.
so you let me know when that's occurred. Okay, we're back on the record at 6:47. And council, we have an action item based on discussion in executive session for your consideration. Council President Page.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to enter into a settlement agreement with Revolution and Concert House as discussed.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, the clerk call roll.
Councilmember Page,
Yes.
Councilmember Rasmussen,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacobs, Councilmember Jorgensen.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. That concludes the business on our agenda. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Got a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any opposed can stay? Is that how it goes? Thank you. Motion carries. We stand adjourned.
Go UConn.